Hello, my name is Billy, and I recently had an issue with my '03 Mustang. I was driving through traffic. Next thing I know, my air conditioner that was working like a champ, man, it was blowing really ice cold air. All of a sudden, it started blowing not very cold air, and on a hot day in Texas, that's not fun. A couple minutes later, I noticed that the temperature gauge starts reading like the car's starting to get hot. So then I start panicking. And in any event, I first replaced the thermostat, hoping that that would fix it. I went ahead and put in the best thermostat, which is fail-safe. That way, if it starts getting hot, the thermostat locks into a fully open position. And it was only like $2 more. So I got the better thermostat, which is the fail-safe. Again, it made no difference to the car. I noticed that there was a service engine soon light that came on. So I took the car, and at AutoZone, they hooked the computer to it and was able to tell me what the computer says that the car needs. The computer said the most likely thing was the coolant temperature switch. And I was very thankful that the price of this coolant temperature switch was 20 bucks. So I was excited. I was like, all right, just 20 bucks, I can fix this thing. I bought the part. This is what the box looks like. That's the part number, SU2193. And this is a 2003 Ford Mustang. Mine has the V6, the 3.8 V6. That's what the box looks like. This is what it looks like inside the box. This is the actual sensor itself. So I was like, oh, this can't be too hard. Just take out the old one, put in the new one. So I get home and I'm trying to figure out, so where do I take this thing out? Where is it? I just gotta find it and pull it out and put it in the new one. I thought it was gonna be so easy. Well, looking for it and looking for it and looking for it and not finding it. And so I called my buddy. He has the exact same car. His is a 2000 model. Mine's a 2003. They look identical. The car looks like the exact same car, no difference whatsoever. So we thought on his 2000 model, the coolant temperature switch is right down there. This is the alternator. Right behind the alternator on the intake down there, that's where his was. Mine was not right there. So I began searching the internet trying to figure out, well, where is this thing on this car? And I was getting all kinds of, you search that, man, and you'll find all kinds of crazy ass shit out there. When I found it, it's behind the motor back here. It's way back here, super hard to see, super hard to get to, super hard to do anything with. I did figure out, after a lot of trying to figure it out, what I did is I moved as much stuff out of the way as possible. I moved as much of this stuff as possible. I moved as much of this stuff as possible, just tying back stuff out of the way, just so I could even see it. This little plastic thing here, I just popped that out, moved it a little bit, unplugged this, popped this off like that, moved it out of the way like that. I was just getting as much stuff out of the way as I could to even see it. Long story short, it's back there, and it's really hard to get to. The only way I could get my hands anywhere near touching it was I actually put a blanket down, some good thick blankets. I put really good thick blankets right here, and I laid across the vehicle with my feet hanging off over here, and I was able to go down the side of the motor, kind of up under, to barely reach it. That is the best way to try to reach it. The way that plug works, the plug that plugs into this thing, you just squeeze it just right. And when you squeeze it just right, it just pops right off. If you're squeezing it in the right spot, it will easily come off. So if it's not just easily coming off, you're not squeezing in the right spot. When you do squeeze it in the right spot, which is right here, when you squeeze that, the little plug just comes right off. It's really easy. Again, trying to get back in there is definitely fun because it's not in a good spot. I did get out mine, and when I was putting in a new one, yeah, I broke it off in there. I put it in and I went to tighten it, tightened it a little too much, and the end just broke off in the back of the motor. So I relocated the switch. The piece that's broke off in the back of the motor, it's not gonna ever leak because it's broke off in there. So I ain't gotta worry about it ever leaking right there. There's nothing to worry about at all. In fact, if you wanted to just relocate your switch, which I highly recommend because it's a pain in the rear trying to even get to it back there. And that's what I did. I relocated my switch. In that same position, I was able to get the wire over just enough to where there was just enough wire to where I could cut the wire, trim the wire, add more wire to it, and move the plug way over here to the radiator hose. I work in metal fabrication and stuff, so I was able to build this particular one here myself. I built this at work. It's just a pipe for the water to flow through and a piece here for the sensor to screw down into. It took a lot of research to try to figure out what thread that was. After a lot of trial and error, because I did build 4 of these before I finally got one that was exactly what it needed to be. So take it from me, the thread size for this coolant temperature switch, that thread size right there, it is a M10 1.5. So if you're doing like me and you're making your own new location with something like this, the threads you need to thread that is M10 1.5. So here's my new switch, and this is one of the ones that was, you know, trial and error, getting it just right. The actual one is already installed in my car. You can see the white zip ties where I put a wire protector over the new wire that's coming all the way from over there to over here. Now the wires that were in this plug right here, one of them was like green and orange, and the other one was like white and orange, I believe. And when you rewire this thing, it is important to make sure that you're connecting the exact wire back to the exact same spot over here. In any event, I got the wire moved over here. My radiator hose used to be just straight, of course, obviously. It went straight from the thermostat, one solid piece, over to the radiator. So all I did was split the radiator hose here and installed the piece that I built, which you can actually buy these things for about 50 to 60 bucks. You can buy something like this where you just put it in your radiator hose, and the one you buy already has the thread thing that comes with it so that you can put sensors and things into it. They make them for race cars. So in any event, with mine, I put a little bit of thread tape on the end of the sensor to help make sure it got a good seal. And when you tighten it, you don't want to over tighten it, obviously, because if you do like me and you break it, that's never fun. Pretty simple install. Definitely a whole lot easier than trying to jack with behind the motor, because that's just insane. Why they would put that there, I don't even know. So I'm hoping that this information helps people out there. It totally fixed my car. The AC instantly went back to working like normal. Now, because the sensor is on this side of the thermostat, the car is a little slower on showing me the temperature when I first start driving. It takes about 9 minutes of the motor getting warm enough for the thermostat to open up. But once the thermostat opens up and water starts going into the radiator, it starts giving you the temperature at the dash. And with a fail-safe thermostat, you don't have to worry about the motor getting hot and it doing damage to the motor, because the fail-safe thermostat, if it gets too hot, the way it's designed and made, it'll just lock itself in a fully open position so that the water goes instantly to the radiator to cool the motor. You can also take the thermostat out. It don't really have to have it, but I like it. That way the computer's getting a good read when it needs it. So other than a delay in the temperature when the car goes from cold to being warmed up, other than that, it works like a champ. Everything works really great, really wonderful, super easy to get to. Nothing, I mean, that was just insane. The only thing that was hard about this was the little bit of space and like connecting the wires and taping the wires and twisting them together and all that. I had to do it all with one hand. And like I said, I laid a towel, blankets and stuff here, and my arm straight down there to be able to get to it with one hand. And with one hand, I was able to maneuver it far enough so that I could cut the wire, peel the plastic back enough to twist, you know, the new wire to the old wire. And, you know, it took a little bit, but I got it. And man, this is a lot better than, why in the world they put that sensor back there? It's just nuts. So hopefully this video helps people. You guys have a good one. Bye.